How you doing, Kenny Hodder, Beano Devil's Digest? I got to imagine the vibe on the first day of the transfer portal compared to the first day of the transfer portal last year is totally different because of your success, and the good headaches that maybe were hard to find last year are abundantly clear this year.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of interest, particularly, the wide receiver position. A lot of people have been reaching out. So it's positive.
Chris Cartman, Sun Devil Source. Kenny, just wondering, after saying following the game that you thought maybe year 3 you would be in this position, but not year 2. What things did you learn from the players in this group that can help you even more into your future?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry. Don't ever put limitations on yourself. You never know what you can accomplish. Like these guys, not just from a physical standpoint, but from the mental, from the work, from the continued grind, from the adversity faced, they've really accomplished something up to this point that's incredible. Something that I don't know if a team's ever been picked 16th out of 16th and ended up winning. Whether it's pro sports, collegiate sports, I can't think of a story like that off the top of my head. So what I've learned is the whole mindset of the program of just be the very best you can be all the time is so true, because we wouldn't have put this expectation as success. We wouldn't have defined success as this based off of preseason expectations. So don't ever put yourself in a box. Continue to just be the very best version of yourself. And I think that's just, these guys are a living testament of that. And they continue to do it. They continue to amaze me every single day and what they do, good and bad.
Nick, Blake, Doug, Jake.
Kenny, Nick King from Arizona's Family. Scat's balance. How unique do you think it is, Dave? Do you have a comparison for anyone who's been able to kind of keep themselves up the way he does?
Yeah, I compare him more to like the Ray Rices, the Maurice Jones-Drews of the world, where they were, a little bit shorter guys, really stocky, 220, maybe 30. I don't know what their weights were, but with unbelievable balance and physicality. That's kind of the running style when I watch him, I think of. And then they were both really good pass catchers out of the backfield. So I see him as a similar player like that with the elite contact balance. Mind you, I've never watched the real film on either of those guys. I've watched the fan film, right, which watching them on TV. But when I watch those guys play, those are the guys who I feel like Scat kind of reminds me of.
Blake?
Hey, Kenny, Blake Neiman, Sun Devil Source. You talked about yesterday a lot of guys from the southeastern part of the country being on your team, being able to kind of grow up and idolize the Peach Bowl. How big has being in the Big 12 Conference been to having that national reach for recruiting as well as the transfer portal and getting guys to come here?
Yeah, definitely. We recruit a little bit past Texas, but the majority we stop kind of at that Texas range, and then we'll dabble past it. But I definitely think being in the Big 12 has opened up doors from us from a recruiting perspective to recruit that side of the country. So I know those guys are excited to get there. I know Jeff is from there, and he's fired up as can be. And he's probably the funniest dude in our team. So that's a scary combination to have the funniest dude on your team going back home for the game. So we're gonna have to make sure we definitely have him under control when we go back out there.
Doug, Jake, and then other Jake.
Doug Franz Unplugged podcast. I thought post game you made a great point about Travis. Last year, Greg Byrne came on the record and said he's going to figure out what they're going to do, future scheduling. When the committee first got together, we were told every week it's an independent week. It doesn't seem anything remotely the same. So for you going future, how does whatever the committee is trying to tell us affect you, future scheduling, future decisions?
Yeah, I definitely think, I know there's going to be conversations about that moving forward. And this is so fluid that it's going to change and move. And so I think it's all dependent on the discussions that are had this offseason. You have to be able to react in real time. I think if there's one thing that everybody knows about college athletics right now is you have to be able to react today. And then it may change in 3 months and you have to be able to react again. And the teams that can constantly change, redirect course, the teams that are going to be successful, the teams that have to move mountains in order to get things accomplished are the teams that are going to struggle. So as long as we can continue to change courses quickly as the rules change, as the standards to enter the CFP and stuff like that change, then we're going to be in a good spot. The moment that they change the standards or the expectations change, and it's difficult for us to change scheduling or change those things that are critical, that's when it's going to become a struggle. But right now, I feel like we're in a good position that we're maneuvering at a pretty good speed right now, and hopefully we can continue that.
Jake, Jordan, Anthony, Dave.
Hey, Kenny, Jake Garcia, 12 News. How did you see Xavier Guillory embrace his role at the start of the season? And then what have you seen these past few weeks when maybe more was asked of him and he's responded the way he has?
Yeah, obviously he won the starting job to start the year. Then he got dinged up. Right after he got in a rhythm, he had a really good game. We're like, okay, good. Like, X is going to get going. Then he got dinged up, and I'm like, man. And then he kind of went in that period where he wasn't really healthy, he couldn't really practice, could kind of practice, wasn't full speed. So for him the last few weeks to finally get back and get that momentum, I mean, we wouldn't have won the game without him. And absolutely critical for us to get him back. I wish we could have seen him an entire season healthy because I think the kid could play on Sundays. He's athletic, he's physical, catches the ball well, will be a phenomenal special teamer at the next level. So I wish we would have been able to see a full season of him healthy at ASU. But other than that, I just awesome for the kid to grow like he did, even with the adversity he faced in the middle of the year.
Jake, Jordan.
Hey, Kenny, Jake Stewart, Sun Devil Source. Just based on the Shamari Simmons targeting, just what was kind of your thoughts on that call? Are you able to appeal that? And also, if he can't play in the Peach Bowl, do you have someone to maybe fill in for that first half?
Yeah, we're definitely, working through an appeals process right now. It was unfortunate. Shamari knew, he saw the quarterback looking away, so he made an emphasis to keep his head up. And then at the last second, you can see the quarterback turn towards him and lower himself a little bit. And that little bit of the turning and the lowering is what actually created the contact with the neck area, which when you're defenseless, you can't make contact with the head or neck area. So it's very bang from a targeting call. There's numerous reasons why it's bang. So we definitely appealed it. He's such a great kid. This is about the kids, and it'd be unfortunate if a guy who's put in all the work he's had, who his senior year, who tried to do the right thing, he kept his eyes up, loses half of a game. That is something that he'll remember for the rest of his life, that he's worked his entire life for. It'd be upsetting. It wasn't malicious. He wasn't doing anything violent other than just trying to play the game with his eyes up. And for that to take something away from him that he should be able to embrace and cherish would be really disappointing for the kid when the whole mission of college athletics is for these guys. I hope something will happen there. I don't know where the appeal goes. I don't know who approves it. But I hope it does get overturned. I think it's the right thing to do for Shamari and everything that he's done, in his career. And, he's played football his entire life to play in a game like this. And for something to be that close and 2 inches are the difference in this kid being able to experience something that he'll have for the rest of his life. I think the human in everybody should understand that this is something that should get overturned.
Jordan, Anthony, David.
Hey, Kenny, Jordan Ham, Sports 360 AZ. With more and more players going to the portal, what advice would you give them going into this process? And then for the high school recruits, what advice would you give that maybe wasn't as important maybe 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah, high school recruits, now you're competing with the unknown. Before, you knew you were competing versus the other kids in your class, but the reality is you're competing for a depth spot on the depth chart now. You're competing for a spot on the roster, and that roster spot and your competition changes when you wake up one morning and there's 6 other freshmen that are on a college roster that are now in the portal at your position. And you just went from number 1 on somebody's board to number 7 overnight, because those freshmen in the portal are still treated like freshmen. They still have 4 years left just like you. And I think that's the hardest part right now for the high school kids to understand is it's not the recruiting that it was in the past, because a team that can get a high school kid from the portal or a freshman from the portal who's maybe been in a collegiate program, who understands what it looks like, who maybe has played in some games, right? It could change where you stack for somebody. So my advice would be, when you know where you want to go, make sure you trust the people you're going to, stay committed to that school, and then work your butt off when you get there. For our guys that are going in the portal, we've met with most of our guys that are going in. Our guys have the opportunity to stay on our football team. Like, they're like, well, we'll go in at the end. I go, no, that's not fair to you to go in after our run is over. Like, I want you to have the best opportunity to find a spot. You can go in right now, day one, we'll help you find a spot and stay on our football team if you want to stay on our football team, and let's go on this ride together the rest of the way. But I didn't want those guys to feel like they had to wait to go in because they wanted an opportunity to have a bigger role for a program until after the CFP. I think that would have hurt their chances. So I made it very clear to the guys that you can stay on the team as long as you do what you're supposed to do, just like you're on the team. Go to meetings, show up, be 5 minutes early, check in, weigh in, go to workouts. Even if you go in the portal here, that doesn't affect me at all. That's just us being on the same page, trying to help you achieve what you want to achieve in your career. So we will have some people going in that choose to stay a part of this team, and it fires me up that we have the relationship between the kids and the team, that they want that they want these guys to stay a part of it. And then we'll have some guys on the team that are like, you know what, I'm going to go and I'm going to take midweek visits, and I got to be a little bit more aggressive finding a spot, and that's fine too. And either way, it's what's best for these guys.
Anthony, Damon, Cam, Blake.
Hey, Kenny, Anthony Remedio, Sun Devil Daily. Going back in time for a minute here, 1970 ASU's last game in the Peach Bowl, also Frank Cush's first bowl win. And as Gary was saying at the end of the Zoom call yesterday, that that kind of started the movement for those here in the Valley to start the movement for what now has become known as Fiesta Bowl. With this being your first bowl game as a head coach, how do you feel about kind of having that connection and that similarity in that sense?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, to be honest. Like, small world, or coincidence, whatever that the correct saying is. I mean, it's just, that's wild. It's an absolutely wild coincidence right there. So, yeah.
Hey, Kenny, Damon Allred, Arizona Sports. Regardless of who wins this first round matchup between Clemson and Texas, odds are you'll be playing the best team, best quarterback, best defense you guys have faced all year. How do you plan the team for that physical and mental readjustment to this higher level of competition?
Yeah, I think the Big 12 is a phenomenal league. I think the Big 12 is filled with really, really good football players and good teams. I haven't had the ability to watch, tape on both of those teams yet. We haven't dove into that. So I don't really know the level of competition or the change, because I really think we've played some really good football teams this year. I do know whoever we play is going to be favored. That's pretty much what I can guarantee. I can guarantee that we're essentially playing an away game, and we're going to be the underdog. And that's really all I know as of now.
Cam, Blake, and Jake.
Hey, Kenny, Cameron Cox, 12 News. Just curious, what have these last 48 hours been like? Can you take us behind the curtain? Has anyone reached out to you that you thought, oh, that's cool that you had something to say? And then what does your family think about all this? What have those moments been like behind the scenes?
Yeah, and I'm not like, well, I mean, I don't get like infatuated with people like, oh, that's cool, that person has hit me up, or that's a famous, it's never been, like, I've never been an autograph guy. So that type of stuff doesn't, it's like, oh, cool. Like cool. But from the family perspective, my family's definitely very excited. They're probably more excited than me, to be honest. We're still in this right now, so I'm excited. I'm enjoying it. Don't get me wrong, but it never really ends. College football doesn't sleep. So like, you wake up today and it's the beginning of the portal. It's like, okay. And it's a whole new season within a season. And then we go back and it's back to the season. And so I haven't really, it's been awesome. It's been exciting. It's the first time in, 30 years, 28 years, we've won a championship here, which is awesome. Well, none of our guys were alive on our football team for what they just accomplished. And anytime you do something for the first time in your lifetime, you better embrace that. But I came here for what we can build over time, not to be a flash in the pan. And that's what I'm working on right now is how do we prevent ourselves from being a flash in the pan. But my family's super excited. I've gotten a ton of text. It's cool.
Blake and Jake.
Hey, Kenny, first year of the Leadership Council for you. Do you believe that this success happens without that Leadership Council?
No, 100% it does not happen.
How have they transformed this culture to create this success?
Oh, they make all the decisions. Like every major decision we have in our program is decided by them. They're the ones who wanted me to meet with the guys early. I've been having exit interviews since before the Arizona game because I asked them, hey, I know this is weird, but now in today's day and age, kids are getting called by other schools already. Kids have to start making decisions. And I'm like, but we haven't even played our final game yet. How are we going to start talking about next year? And so for them to give me the insight and, what kids are thinking about now and what's actually happening, I think has been huge because now I'm meeting with the guys. We're all on the same page. Yeah, we have tough conversations and then we have to go play Arizona. Yeah, we do. But that's just part of life. You're going to have tough conversations with people and real conversations. And for our team to only be better through all this, and then guys still want to be a part of it. And that's just one example of how the Leadership Council has made decisions to get us to where we're at, whether it's, hey, we're tired today, coach. Like our bodies are worn. All right, I got to change the schedule. And then it's like, coach, no, we can go harder. Like we feel good. We feel good this week. And the honesty that they've had towards me and then back, I think has helped this team get to where we want to go. And then same token, I challenged those guys early that we're only going to be as good as them. We're only going to work as hard as they work. We're only going to play as hard as they work. And that's what good teams are. You're only as good as your best players. And, I know people always use the saying, you're only as good as your worst player. I couldn't agree less with that saying. You're only as good as your best players. Your standard is your best players. If your best players set a high standard, people feel obligated to hit it. And I think that's what this Leadership Council did. This Leadership Council forced the guys beneath them or the guys next to them to hit their standard of effort, their standard of relentlessness, and their passion for the game. And I think that's what's really elevated everybody in the program.
Jake, Doug, and Colin.
Kenny, there's 3 weeks off between now and your next game. Do you guys have to change the process or maybe reevaluate some things with the schedule in terms of like a bye week is almost like a 3-week bye week compared to the regular season?
Very hard, to be honest. I've never really experienced anything like this, so I called a few coaches. I'm not going to mention who I called, just about managing this. And, a lot of them, to be honest, both of them didn't tell me like what they liked, what they did. They both said, this is what I would never do again because it's such a weird space. We're playing good football right now. Now you have 3.5 weeks where you don't get to play football versus an opponent. I mean, that's as long as fall camp. And how do you manage bodies with staying in shape, with staying fine-tuned, without hitting each other too much to get somebody injured because you don't want to get somebody hurt. And so we have a plan. Like I said, I talked to some other coaches who've done this before. And then I met with our Leadership Council and our staff to go through, get everybody's opinions, to put together the best plan. And our players are off this week until Sunday night, and then we'll come back. We'll do basically a bye week for that next week, simulated bye week. A lot of young guys practice, one veteran practice. Basically, we're going to get one high 500 player load, which is a normal high workload for us, player load day a week after they get back to try to make sure we're hitting. Those are game day levels. 500 player load is a extensive game. Usually we're in the high 400s, so we want to get a 500 player load the 2 weeks leading up to the game week and then one of the game week. So hopefully we can keep our ability to play at 4 quarters of football.
Doug, Colin, and then Jake in the back.
I had to laugh when you just said, some of your players weren't even alive the last time that the championship was won.
All of them.
Well, you were barely alive the last time the championship was won. So if my math is right, you're first grade, second grade. What do you remember about the Rose Bowl?
Not much. I mean, I more remember, I don't have a great memory when it comes to stuff like that. I just remember like coming to games in that era and remember that like the same couple used to sit next to wherever my dad had his seats. And it was like they would always say hi. I don't remember their name. I don't remember what they looked like. But I remember there was a couple that would always sit there and they would always like look back and talk. And we would like have conversations, right? I remember throwing the ball in the parking lot. I remember parking where the motorhomes used to be over by the old baseball field. There used to be all the motorhomes used to park in that parking lot. And I remember blocking it off so we could play catch with different cars. I remember that type of stuff. I remember running up the hill to get up that you weren't supposed to climb up. For those of you who have been around for a long time, the dirt hill that you cannot climb, but everybody climbs it, right? And then once a game, somebody falls down and they're at the bottom of the hill all dirty and everybody's laughing at them. Did you see the guy who fell? I remember those types of things about that era, but I think that's what makes college football different and unique. It's not just about the product of on the field or the result. It's the moments that college football create for the fan base that you remember. You don't always remember the plays. You remember the environments. You remember the seasons. You remember everything that goes into it. And I think that's why it's so will be so fun to get season ticket sales up, to get people back involved, to get this place sold out more, because the environment's something that your kids and your kids' kids and your aunts and your uncles are going to remember for the rest of their life, just like I just did. Like I just went down memory lane like that. That's how it should be for the next generation of Sun Devils 10, 15 years from now.
Kenny, Colin Harmon, ABC 15. I guess it's a great problem to have, juggling the portal while getting ready for the CFP, but if you were kind of controlling the rules of college football, I don't know, is there a way where you're not still playing for what you're playing for and having to deal with all the stuff for the future?
There's not a right answer. It's kind of like being on the CFP committee. You're always wrong. That's the nature of sport. I mean, this is the definition of sport. It's so great because it's a living soap opera. I mean, we're living a reality show. It's just not a reality show. It's a real show. But this is and people are going to complain and argue, oh, you should have voted this person off of Survivor this week because the next week he changed alliances on you, right? You're never right. You're always wrong, and that's what makes it great, is I'm going to get on here and say we should be ranked here. Well, why wouldn't I? Does that mean that they're wrong? No, it doesn't. It means I'm always going to defend my players and defend our team, and that's what every coach should do, and that's what makes it so great.
Kenny, with Cam starting his college career at a FCS school and then potentially ending it with a Heisman finalist nominee today, I'm curious if you think there's a lesson there for current high school players, maybe even current college guys, about going to a place that wants you and then also a place that can develop you into the best version of yourself.
Yeah, his story is remarkable. He just perseveres. His self-belief is incredible. And I think he's combined that chip on his shoulder with like a true passion for the work and the teammates this year. So I definitely think it is a great story. I mean, it's an unbelievable story that what he's accomplished this year. And it's only getting better. I mean, I don't think the story's over. I think the story's still going. And I think there is no doubt in my mind he should be one of the finalists for the Heisman. I think the impact he's had on this football team is not just on the field. It's in the community, taking the belt out to the state championship game. It's the identity of our football team, the toughness of our football team, the ruggedness, the competitive level of our football team. A big part of that stems from him. And all of that stuff has an effect on a team that was picked dead last, that now finished first, that aren't going to show up in the stat book. But if you talk about the impact a person can have on a program, how valuable somebody is to a team, all that stuff needs to be included because all that stuff is where we are today. And I think that's why he should be, regardless of the fact he did something for the first time ever in the Big 12 Conference, like ever. Ever is a long time. Like it's a very, very long time. And for you to do something for the first time ever in the Big 12 Conference, that should be rewarded. And yeah, I hope he gets that opportunity to go there and experience that.
Kenny, Karsten Kiefer hit his first field goal of the season in the championship game. What led to the decision to go with him in that scenario, and how have you seen him stay ready throughout the entire season?
Yeah, we put him in there, the Arizona game. Obviously, he's born and raised a Sun Devil. I mean, he's passionate about this place. So, I think in spring, he was doing really, really well. And then I think, when he realized, oh, man, I may win this job, and you grew up a Sun Devil, kicker is not the easiest position. And for him to, feel that pressure a little bit, I think once he made that kick versus Arizona, the extra point, he came off the field and you just saw a different look in his eyes, like a comfort, like, whoa, I scored a point versus Arizona. Like, holy cow, is this real life? And I think ever since then, I just saw a look in his eye that was just like, that's the dude I want to put out there. And after he made that first kick, he was so fired up. I mean, he was juiced up on the sideline. And I'm like, well, how far you can make? He goes, I'm making them all night. I'm like, all right, if we get another spot, you're kicking them all night. Let's go. So it was super, super exciting to see a guy who grew up a Sun Devil, passionate, and go and be a part of, a game that's going to be remembered in the history books.
Kenny, when you talk about not being a flash in the pan, and yesterday referencing Dabo and Clemson and building that kind of a brand, is that like a step beyond activating the Valley, or what does that look like to you?
Yeah, I mean, activate the Valley is you can't win in college sports without community. Like, look at all the teams that are winning. They're not the teams that usually the big city teams struggle in today's day and age, right? That's just what it is because there's so many other things to do that the college kind of gets drowned out a little bit. That's not every big city. There are some big cities that are still, the priority, but a lot of them do. And when I say that, it means that we can't win without the commitment from the city, from the community, from everybody involved. Because when we bring a recruit on campus, right, they have to see a sold-out crowd. They have to see that people care. They have to see that there's a fan base that's crazy on social media and they're passionate. And when he commits, he gets 4,000 retweets and 20,000, whatever it's called on Instagram, like likes or hearts or repost. They got to see all that. Like, man, they care about this thing. And I know that sounds weird, that actually matters. It all matters. And you need it to win. And so that's the first step to winning. And then if we can create that and you can sustain it, well, now you can create a brand that's on a national stage, and then you can attract a higher level. You can compete for different people, for different players. And that's how you slowly build this thing into what I think it can become.
Ryan and then Betty.
Hey, Coach. Ryan Myers, Devil's Digest. You'd mentioned the players having some time off and the practice schedule you guys will be going with. For you and the coaching staff, what does the next few weeks look like? Are you guys starting to game prep? I know you don't know who you're going to play exactly, but you have a very good idea. And then anything like that going forward?
Not right now. This is a self-scout period. We're, talking to our own guys, watching players. We're going to bring in a few guys in the portal, not a lot. Maybe as of right now, like 8, 9. It could change, but we're not trying to. We have our roster that we want for the future. We just want to add a few pieces because we are losing some seniors and are going to have some kids in the portal. So we want to add a few pieces to it. But this is not an overhaul. This is a, fill some gaps. So those are the things we're doing. It's self-scout. Worry about us because we don't know our opponent. So let's really dive into that, like a bye week, and then really make sure that the guys that we are, going to bring up and visit from the portal are wired the way we want them wired, and they're, positive, good energy, good person, love football, want to be here for the right reasons, and then can play really well.
To kind of follow up real quick on that, with the self-scout then, do you know, is there obviously a couple of really good wins back-to-back and a bunch of wins straight? What is it that you're kind of looking forward to seeing and kind of improving on in the self-scout period?
I don't know yet. I mean, we'll have to find out after we do it. I mean, I feel like we have a few tendencies, but sometimes, I don't see everything, that we run or that we practice, or I don't notice like minor details of alignments that I used to when I was a coordinator because I got, more things I'm dealing with. So things that are in my head of, I think every time that our running back is on the same side as the H and he is not in a deep alignment, that it's going to be split flow or outside zone. I used to just be able to be like, oh yeah, that's accurate. Now I'm like, I don't know if that's accurate. So we got to make sure that we look at all that and make sure we change up tendencies or use tendencies against future opponents. That way teams can't use tendencies against us. It's not revolutionary, but this does give us a period of time to do that and not worry about an opponent, but really double down on us and then worry about an opponent this next step.
Hey, Coach. Gina Maravilla, Arizona's family. Morning. So we talked to fans who literally drove 15 hours to Texas to support you. They tried like heck to get on the field at AT&T, and they just couldn't do it. What does that kind of rabid support mean to you guys? How does it help you? And then can you give your best pitch to fill Mercedes-Benz Stadium?
Yeah, I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, hopefully it was worth it. Hopefully I'm glad we got the job done for those people who drove 15 hours. Because that's what it's about. I mean, the commitment for those people to drive that amount of time, and hopefully our players went over there and said something to them. Hopefully they have a moment that they'll remember for the rest of their life when the confetti fell, and they'll be able to tell people they were there. 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. I was at that game. I was there. I saw Cam with the belt walking around. Hopefully that's a memory that they're going to cherish, and then. It's the same message is this is a special season. I mean, this is something that hasn't happened here in 28 years. You better enjoy the ride and you better make sure you look out the window. And the only way to look out the window is to be in that stadium. If you want to be at something that could be remembered for the history of ASU football, this is a moment that people could remember forever. And I challenge people to get there, get out there, find a way. I get it. It's hard. I don't know the ticket prices. I don't know the flights. I know people were flying to Mexico to get to Texas or driving 16 hours. I don't know all the challenges. So I get it. I know some people don't have the resources, which is okay. Have people over to your house and watch it, which is perfectly fine too. But just make sure you really embrace this moment and this team because they deserve it. And I hope we get to take the field and those kids, that the 120 guys in our team that have worked their butt off to get to this point, take the field and they see maroon and gold in that stadium and as much maroon and gold in that stadium as the opponent.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.